Hey everybody, it's Dr. May. Thanks for joining me for part 4 of our developmental movements and actions series here. I'm going to get the screen up for us and we will continue with grasping. So our 5 developmental movements and their psychological significance. Okay, so this is part 4 of our series. So just a brief recap in case you missed the first few videos. So we started out with yield. So yielding is about relaxing into the support of an object or another person. So let's say you're a baby, you yield into the love and support of your caregiver, and now you're getting a little restless. You want to push away from the caregiver and start exploring your environment. So you're saying no to the caregiver for now. I want to move out of my own and do something else. And so the natural thing is, now that I'm separating, I want to reach for other things, maybe another person, another object, another situation. So the reach is the next natural movement. And that leads us to the next logical thing, which is to grasp. So once I reach for something or somebody, I want to grasp onto it, to explore it a little bit more and kind of make it a little bit more my own. So we're going to explore mostly grasp today, but there's a little bit of reach mixed in because it's kind of one leads to the next. Okay. And when we hold on to something, as it says down here, it could mean that something's important to us. What do we want to grasp onto? What do we have difficulties grasping onto? Some of those questions we could explore within ourselves to better understand what's going on with us and our values and our issues. Okay. So grasping began back in child development, like all of the other movements. So we could grasp caregivers or persons. So a child might reach for a caregiver, maybe to have more love, more support, pick me up, do something with me. So a child might reach for the caregiver, and a responsive caregiver, hopefully, would reach back in kind. And then there would be a connection made. And if you feel this confidence, and this happens over and over again, you get confidence that other people that you reach out for will reach back, and that if you grasp onto them, they will grasp back onto you. So that makes you feel more secure, more like you predict more in your future that people will be there for you. So you have a little more confidence in reaching for others. And obviously, babies also explore objects, and they reach out for and grasp objects of interest, and it allows them to explore it more with their senses once they grasp it rather than just reaching for it. Okay, once it gets in your hand. Okay, but there's obstacles to grasping, just like there's obstacles to all of our developmental movements. So let's say a caregiver places the object out of reach. So obviously, parents need to put certain things out of reach so children don't get hurt. I mean, you want to lock the cabinets so kids don't get into different chemicals and, medicines and things like that. There's sharp objects, there's things that could get a child in trouble. So there has to be things out of reach. But sometimes maybe an overly cautious caregiver puts too many things out of reach, and a child feels like, I can't explore enough, that there's too many things I'm not allowed to reach for, even things that could be okay. So, if your caregiver is too controlling, and they only allow you to grasp what they want you to grasp, you may feel a little inhibited in your own exploration. Other times, in a more broader cultural sense, more symbolically, in a way, that there's things out of reach or out of grasp for certain groups in society, whether it's people of color, LGBT, women, elderly. So there's times when there might be opportunities that you can't reach out for and grasp because of your position in society, or there's a lot of obstacles to doing so. And so there's, as you can see here, there's a familial element. So something maybe related to your caregivers, but there's also a societal element that could make it hard for us to grasp the things that we're looking for. It might lead us to give up on reaching out for and grasping things. Okay. So problems with grasping kind of polarizes in two different ways. So one way is when we grasp or hold on too tightly. So think about things in your life that maybe you have a hard time letting go of, or that you grab onto too tightly. There's a desperate holding on to it. Are you, like the picture on the top, a penny pincher? Maybe you've had issues financially and you grasp onto your money and you're afraid to spend it because you're afraid of being without. Or maybe you grasp very tightly onto a person because you're afraid of abandonment. Maybe you want them around all the time. You're possessive of them. You don't want them exploring and doing their own thing because you're afraid you're going to lose the person. So you hold on to them or control in some way too tightly, and that creates an issue for you. And part of it is that you're afraid of what will happen if you stop holding on. So what if I stopped holding on to my money too tightly and I ended up spending too much and then I'm without, and then I don't know what to do because I don't have enough money? Or what will happen if, yeah, I let my partner do what he or she wants and they decide they don't love me anymore, or they're just gonna see other people or do other things and I'm gonna lose them. So there's a sense of like fear or uncertainty that goes around with this holding on too tightly, like what's going to happen if I let go? So difficulty with the uncertainty of that. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Also, I forgot to mention too, even habits and patterns and emotions. Sometimes we hold on to a pattern of behavior too tightly, or an addiction, or a tendency, because if I don't have this, who am I going to be? If I don't worry too much, what's going to happen? If I don't hold on to my thoughts and think them over and over and over again, what am I going to do with the emptiness of that? Or if I don't feel angry all the time and feel that self-righteous need to get justice feeling, maybe I'm going to be too vulnerable. I have to hold on to my anger. What if I smoke cigarettes compulsively, addictively, and I stop smoking cigarettes? What am I going to do with the space of not smoking? How am I going to fill the time? How am I going to feel the urge, the anxiety that is soothed by smoking the cigarette, for example? So we can hold on to habits and emotions and patterns very tightly. And sometimes we know they're destructive, but we feel like, I don't know what to replace it with. What's the uncertainty of a healthier alternative? I don't know if I could do it. So that kind of contributes to the holding tightly as well. Okay, on the other side, we might struggle with being unable to hold on to things. So we grasp it, but we can't sustain the grasp. We hold on for briefly and then we let it go, or it's a very weak grabbing onto. So I may not be very attached to possessions, or I may not be very attached to people. So I may not really put energy and nurturing into a relationship because it's like, what's the point? It's probably not going to work out anyway. If they really got to know me, they wouldn't love me. They're probably just going to leave. Or I'm judging them and I don't think it's worth it, so I don't hold on. I might have difficulty committing in a relationship. I casually date a lot of people, but I never really get into a deeper, more committed relationship. Maybe I have a difficulty committing to a job. I stay in things for a little while and then I leave, or I start a project and then I can't sustain it. So, I might have those kind of difficulties. I hop from one thing to another. Master of all trades. No, I'm sorry. Jack of all trades, master of none. So it can take a lot of different forms with being unable to really grasp things. So you can go deeper and start to ask yourself, well, what makes it hard for me to sustain it? Maybe with a person, if I have a hard time grasping onto a person, I'm afraid of being too needy. Or I'm afraid that if I hold on to them and I really allow myself to feel something for them or make myself vulnerable, they're just going to leave me anyway. Or if I really invest myself in this job, it's just not going to work out for me, or it's going to get too hard, or I'm never going to get that promotion, and it's just going to expose my own inadequacies. So why bother? So there might be a lot of stuff underneath it that can be worth exploring if this is your tendency. Okay, so some exercises you could do to help put the physical, the body elements together with the psychological elements. There's a couple ways you could do it. One is if you explore some of these issues in your mind and they're feeling fresh, like you're really thinking about that relationship you're having a hard time grasping onto, or that project or that object. Maybe I don't feel like I deserve to have money, so I don't grasp onto it. I just spend it right away because I don't believe I have the worth to hold on to it, whatever it happens to be. When it feels fresh to you, or you could conjure up something that makes it feel fresh, try this exercise. So you could use any object you want. It could be a stress ball, it could be a stuffed animal, it could be a pillow. But practice while you're feeling this, and you can do it with another person or by yourself. Reach out slowly and grasp it. And imagine that object being the thing or person or even pet you want to grasp onto. And notice what your grasp is like and what that feels like. So notice how firmly or loosely you're grabbing onto it. Do you experience yourself grasping for things indiscriminately, desperately, carefully, hesitantly? What happens to your emotions while you're doing it? What kind of images come up? What kind of thoughts or beliefs are you experiencing? Any other movements you notice about the way you're grasping, the way your body posture is while you're grasping? If you're pulling away while you're is there a mixed message within your body? So what's happening with you as you're doing this? Another question you could ask yourself is, do I know when and how to let go? So if I have a grasping too tightly style, when do I let go? Is it hard to let go? Is it easy to let go? Do I know when to let go? So let's say I'm in a relationship and it's deteriorating, it's getting unhealthy, it's getting toxic. Do I know when to let go of that? When to not have a grasp? Am I holding on to something that's toxic for me because I'm not sure what will happen if I let it go? So allow all these things to come up to help build your insight into what your grasping style is like and what your issues are. You could also practice tightening and loosening your grasp and seeing what that feels like. So still imagining and experiencing that this thing I'm grasping is the object or person I'm using in this example. And what does it feel like to loosen my grip on it? What comes up for me? What happens when I tighten my grip? What comes up for me? So if it gets uncomfortable, if it's triggering, you could always use different coping skills or resources to manage the feelings that come up, or you could put the exercise aside for now. But it could be a good way of building your insight into these issues related to grasping. Okay, so stop the share. All right, so I hope this was helpful for you. And thanks for tuning in as always. And I will see you soon in the 5th video about this series. Okay, 5 developmental movements, 5th video coming soon. Thanks everybody and talk to you later. Bye.